Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another couch video. Let me read this title. Women view a man's looks through their own cultural and racial lens. Now, look, here's an issue, a major issue. Many guys out here think like there's some like universal way that all women all over the world are looking at a particular man. And that's some bullshit. Or they'll say, oh, it's objective and shit. And I've said several times, there ain't nothing objective about how a woman look at something. Women, first of all, women don't go by the math anyway. For that matter, men don't. Let me switch this around for a bit. Like a friend of mine, he had sent a clip of this young lady on TikTok. She was talking about LA 10s versus New York 10s versus Miami 10s. All of them were different. And that's just a reality because any men out here who actually talk and who traveled around, they'll say, well, there's, like I had somebody in my inner circle, he's from the Florida area. He'll say there's a Jacksonville 10 versus an LA 10. And they got plenty of dudes who lived out there in LA. Shout out Master Teacher BGS. But then I have somebody in my inner circle I've done some consultations with. He's from Minneapolis. He'll talk about a Minneapolis 10. I remember this young lady who I had dealt with years ago. Very, very attractive. In fact, she had been in some movies and stuff. She had been like some small parts in movies. But this dude who knew her too, he said it best. She don't stand, when she go out to LA, she don't stand out. DC, she stood out. LA, she don't. In fact, when I was in college, there was a difference between a young lady who was like considered the finest on my undergrad campus versus what she would have been on my graduate campus. It's just changed. There's no universal thing. It depends on the area. So that's with men. But that's how men are looking at women. Women looking at men the same way. They looking at so many factors. Like, I had somebody hit me up, and they were going by what a lot of these black pillars were saying, right? And I was like, well, women don't like brown guys. No, I'm like thinking to myself, what hood is he in? What hood is he in? Black and brown, you go to any place majority black. And you want to get some guys who don't look shit like some damn Chad or even like some what people think of as Tyrone. Got a bunch of women. Hell, you can do that. You can go online and see that. Shoot, there's one page I look at. I follow on IG. They promote polygamy. Polygyny, really. Polygamy is like just multiple period. Polygyny is specifically for men. And these guys don't look like no damn fashion models or anything like that. See, here's the thing, and that even goes beyond just within a country, because, okay, let's use that Chad example. Chad wouldn't go over as much over in Nigeria or Ghana or Mali, in places in Africa, Kenya. Shoot, you look at the guys who got multiple women there, they look totally different. Or if you go to Central America, like there was this young lady who I follow on IG. She's fine as hell, but Hispanic. And one time, I mentioned her before too. She had actually showed a picture of her and her man. Her man didn't look like no damn like Asian, some Hispanic version of Chad. That dude was short, had a gut on him, everything. But if you look at a lot of Hispanics, especially if they Central American, they don't necessarily look like no stud or anything like, or what we could westernized version of a stud. But here's the thing. Every woman, she's going to look at a man. When she's looking at a man, she's looking at him through her, whatever her culture is. So what her racial background is, what her culture is, and really her education level, what she doing for a living, where she living. It depends. It really depends. Like I know in some black communities, if a dude, let's be real, Even though I always say that whole Pookie and Ray Ray thing is overrated, it still happens. Yeah, shoot, some dudes, they gotta look like a Pookie to get a woman. Shoot, they gotta have some gold teeth and everything. In fact, I talked to a young lady who's a friend of mine. She actually makes her money being a makeup artist to stars. And she said, there's hundreds of beauty cultures in the world. But it's cultural. Understand something. There's no objective thing. Every single woman gonna have her different thing. She gonna like her different thing. That's the thing. Some women gonna, the ideal man for a woman, some is gonna have to have beard game. Some are gonna have to have this shit totally clean shaven. And see, here's my point with it. Too many men are caught up trying to be some arbitrary, objective thing by men. First of all, if you're going to talk about looks, remember, what do you want the looks for? To get a woman. So it depends what you look like to the woman. That's why I say it's fucked up when men go to other men and ask them how they look. Or ask a man, well, how do I look? It depends on the woman. Depends on where you at. They the ones whose vaginas got to get wet. They the ones whose vagina got to get wet. You can look good to a bunch of guys. What that mean? Unless your ass is gay, that shouldn't matter. If you look good to another man, you need to look good to the women. If you heterosexual, and if you gay or something, this ain't the channel. But you need to look good to the women. And see, a guy, that's why even with body game, I say just get your best body. Just get your best body. Even recently, a lot of people say, oh, bro, you lost weight. Well, first of all, I ain't gonna get in. I might get into it later, but it's not a good weight loss, y'all. It's part of the sickness. I think I had one person, understand that. It's not a good weight loss at all. At all. All right? Let me be clear about that. But I've had several women, they'd be like, oh, you gotta put on some weight. This went out before the stroke and everything. They were like, you gotta put on some weight, but that was their culture. That was where they were from. That was their racial background. It's always going to be different. Now, my whole point for even bringing it up, all a man has to do is work on being your best. It's just that simple. Don't worry. Don't be trying to compete with some other guy or what some other guys say. You got a bunch of guys. If you ask most of these guys, well, where are you? What neighborhoods you been in? Ask them straight up. How many racial groups have you been among? Look, I'm gonna go racial with the shit. I'm gonna go racial. You get a bunch of white guys trying to say, well, they all want this or that. I say, how many black neighborhoods have you actually been in? Oh, no, not just random, actually lived in neighborhood. How many parties have you been to? How many do you know personally to know what they're going for? Or how many Hispanic women have you actually been around? Or Asian. Because just like as men, we're going to see an LA 10, a New York 10, a Miami 10, a Jacksonville 10, a Minneapolis 10. We're going to look at the women doing the same thing. In fact, I'm going to put a link to that video that young lady was talking about. And she was right. You're going to look at different regions. Women doing the same exact thing. The same exact thing. So what's a man's response to it? It's very simple. Just be your best, man. See who likes it. That's what I've been saying. See which women like and what you present. Some women gonna want a slim man. Okay. If you ain't a slim man, you running into that woman, it'd be very hard to get her. Okay. But then other women, they gonna want a guy with some meat on him. You got a little bit of gut. I met some personally. They said, nah, they like a little bit on the man. It's just different. As a man, and all you can do is you don't get mad or anything or get caught up in some arbitrary standards. You just got to see, okay, what am I? What do I look like? What am I built like? What am I presenting? Okay, what region am I in? Sometimes you might have to travel, I say for myself that, like I said, I know which tribe I get. I also know which type of women. I dealt with a lot of women from the Caribbean and stuff because I look Caribbean. So that's what I'm saying. If you start interacting with women from different regions, different parts of the world, they just like different shit. Ain't no objective thing about it. It depends on their consensus in whatever region they in. And even then, that could change up depending on the environment. So, best you can do is just be your best self. I want y'all to think about it and check out the video. I want y'all to really think, because too many guys are caught up thinking they have to look a certain way, or if they don't look a certain way, that's some straight up bullshit. And yeah, I'm gonna say it. If I gotta say it to somebody's face, I'll say it, because too many dudes are losing out. Meanwhile, you got some dudes, they ain't caught up in all this shit. They ain't online, and they got more women than they know what to do with. Like, I knew this a white guy play. This a big old dude. He was like, they tripping off of this? That dude had women like crazy. He's a big old dude. Big old dude. He said, shoot, that was the only thing he could do was get women. Shoot. But he fit into the group of women that he dealt with. His was more of a class thing. So, he was more a working class white guy. Working class white women liked his ass. So, either working class or women maybe just a little bit above that liked him. So, it depends on the woman. Depends on her woman, her cultural, her racial background, her lens. All right? So anyway, that's all I got for today, y'all. I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.